pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lon, you want to?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening and just give you thanks for the safety that you've given our squadron, and we ask for your hand over every mission that gets flown. Lord, be with our leadership and be with the world events that are going on right now, and the families and everybody that's going through suffering right now. Help us to learn a few things this evening. Amen.
All right, tonight we're going to have Terry do ES,
Yeah.
and he's got a presentation prepared.
So, a couple of things. Let's start off with the airplane information. And that is,
Waiting on the engine to come
do we
back.
know anything? We don't, okay. So, how long ago was it shipped out? Has it been 3 weeks?
Only a couple weeks ago, yeah.
A couple weeks? And they're
Yeah.
saying something like 6 weeks total time?
It could be more.
All right. Well, it is what it is. Do we have an easy way to check the air pressure on the tires in the hangar that I haven't found?
What do you mean, easy?
Is there an easier way? I mean, is there something, let me put it this way. Is there something that we can buy that would make it easier? Is it infrared tire pressure checkers or anything like that? Huh?
We might be
Such a
able to get a internal, a screw-on tube detection thing like you do on cars.
It is such a pain
But,
in the ass
yeah.
to check the air pressure
Well,
on
every
those
time you
tires.
touch it, you lose air.
I know.
So if 5 guys test it,
Exactly.
you're down 2 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, like, you just don't wanna touch it, you just wanna be able to, okay.
Hey Dave, who's
So if
online?
that's a new
Anybody know?
regulation, you've gotta do that for the first every flight, right?
I take it 2 people.
Find an app.
Well,
No
Roy's supposed
names.
to be
It's
on there?
interesting that you brought that
No
up,
names,
because
yeah.
I was
Roy and
thinking
Mario.
today on what invention a person could make with a bottle of air that's compressed, that you could stick it on there and it clips, and it would give you your tire pressure right there, and then you could just, I have
Ken is
something
here.
like that at home, but you have to
Ken
hook
is
it to your
online now.
compressor.
Huh. Well, you keep working on that, you can patent it, make $1 bazillion. Your first sale would be to Silver Patrol, I think.
Well, all
So-
the cars these days,
Yeah, the TPS.
You can read it.
Hey, Chris.
It's a little device inside it.
Cool. So tonight, I'm gonna call up Roy here in a little
Roy
bit.
is on right now.
Roy, just sit tight for a second, and we're gonna go over some other things before we get started on your presentation. We're gonna see how this works out. We've got Roy remotely, he lives down in the Fallbrook area, and so that's a pretty long drive for him to come up here. We thought, well, shoot, he might be able to contribute by watching on our YouTube channel and talking on telephone. We'll see how it syncs up. And I'll be here to fill in some of the blanks. But since we've got a member back here from the mighty 144th, is that the correct fighter squadron that I'm talking about? That does, as part of our Northern NORAD, Northern Air Defense System. And you guys were involved with, were you guys involved with the Super Bowl protection as well? As the Fresno?
Fresno, yeah.
Fresno did that? Okay. They got all the glory on that? Okay. I just thought I'd show you guys some video here of what this Western Air Defense Sector mission that I flew on, I guess it was yesterday. More and more we're being tasked either with a local joint venture with the 144th here at March, or with, I believe it would be Bigfoot. Is that,
Western Air Defense,
yeah, but,
they're Bigfoot.
when it's, okay, they are, but on the bigger, so we have 2 different missions. We've got Felix Hawks, which is what we flew yesterday, and then there's another acronym, I can't remember what it is. But in any event, there's 2 different kinds of these missions. Basically, you do the same thing. Where we're flying out, we're gonna be the target of interest. And what does this do? So, right across the way here, you've got March Air Reserve Base. They have on alert 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 2 South Dakota Air Guard F-16s. All of it's managed administratively here by the 144th. and it's flown by Pilots Out of South Dakota. You can talk to Jason after the meeting and figure out why all that is. But in any event, I believe it's Thursday, there's a changing of the guard, where you've got 2 new guard pilots come down here. Do they fly a jet down here, or do they travel commercial?
Commercial.
They fly commercial. And then they're here on guard for 24/7 for 7 days. And they live in the accommodations. This building basically about the size of this, maybe a little bit larger, obviously a lot nicer. And we've been working with them now, I guess, for at least the past 5 years, pretty consistently. And so here's what some of that work looks like. So what happens is we'll take, it's really interesting. So this is an F-16 come along the right side to get your attention. Of course, they're broadcasting on guard. Probably a pretty good thing if you don't think about it. You know, I never used to travel cross-country and listen to guard on number 2. How many of you guys have ever done that if you're a pilot? Listen on guard on number 2? Well, as an airline pilot, I think that's kind of a standard procedure.
I did it when I was going down to a conference in San Antonio, and over
Yeah.
El Paso, picked up an ELT. Then they had us search for it, so the only thing we do is wing blanking.
Yeah.
We couldn't really, we had a hard time isolating because of our altitude.
It's probably one of those things that I was trained as a student pilot to do 30 years ago, but I just kind of lost touch. I never really listened to guard on number 2, but it's a really good idea. Yeah.
What frequency is guard on?
121.5.
Okay,
Yeah,
121.
121.5.
Just wanted to make sure, not everybody
Yeah.
knows that.
So anyway, I mean, obviously, if you're flying along cross country, you hear ELT, you can report that to approach control. You could also hear an F-16 talking to you. It says you're approaching a TFR, which is what they're talking to us here is on simulated guard. So we took off out of Riverside, we flew down to the inject point, which is over Yuma, and then we start a flight path up basically toward Blythe and then the 29 Palms. And somewhere along the way, these guys scramble the jets over at March and take off in burner. It's really interesting. It takes us about an hour and 15 minutes to get there. They're there in about 12 minutes, shit hot. And so it's really interesting. So in this particular exercise yesterday, our role was to be non-compliant. The scenario was there was a VIP at 29 Palms Airport that we were heading toward 29 Palms Airport. It's like a vice president of the United States or something like that, and we were non-compliant. It was interesting to me, and I don't know if it's just because it was a drill, but they gave us probably 9 or 10 chances to turn away until we got to within about 7 miles of the TFR, not the TFR, of the TFR. And then that's when things came to a logical conclusion, as the mission briefing said, okay? And they shot us down. It's interesting, in that mission briefing, I've been on it before, part of it is, they'll say, we're going to tell you we're going to shoot you down, but we're obviously not going to shoot you down. You think that's probably like the dumbest word. Yeah, it's like, why is this even in a briefing? Of course, you're not going to shoot me down. But then you get out there and you're flying along and you realize these guys are armed with what kind of missiles again?
These are AIM-9Xs and 120s.
These guys are armed with live fire ammunition,
And
okay?
511 rounds of...
Since 9/11, that all changed. So now they're flying around with, you know, live ammunition. So you're having a loaded gun pointed at you from a couple of miles away. Of course, the guy that you see here is only the guy that's trying to warn you. The other guy is on your 6, and that's the guy that's going to shoot you down, probably. So these are some pretty good pictures taken by the observer here. But we'll have more of these. We sign up about once a month. There's a sign up, and usually get assignment maybe once every other month. It's kind of a popular mission to go on. And if you at least have a scanner trainee key, at least a scanner trainee, I can get you sitting in the back seat of this. Okay? So the next time. All right? So that was that. Let's see if I can stop the screen mirroring
They
now.
give you the wing waggle and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah,
on,
yeah.
on visual.
You have to come over here and reestablish this one.
Yeah, all that, they were very patient. Up until the last communication was, you were about to be fired upon. If you don't turn this, you're about to be fired upon. And then maybe a minute later, he says, this is okay, we're gonna knock it off, the end of, you guys go back, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's see if we could call up Roy.
Sometimes they have pilots out of Fresno too that come down.
Yeah, Fresno is another
They're,
guard.
they're another group that comes down.
Hello, Roy. Say hello to everybody.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Seems like it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, Roy, right now, what do you see on your screen?
I see you walking around in a jerky fashion. I
Okay.
mean, the screen's kind of jerky, not your jerky.
All right, well, let's go back to, we're gonna go to slide 1 here, and you can just focus in on the slides, Dave.
Well, there's slide 1. Thank you.
So, anyway, Roy, I'll just kind of give an intro here. We're gonna have a SARX here coming up in about 2-3 weeks, something like that, and a bunch of guys might be flying in mountainous terrain in grids, okay? And I would suggest that if you don't have some kind of survival equipment now, that you got a couple of weeks here to get something together. Of course, it's all gonna be based on your own personal preference. We're gonna take you through some of the things that some people do, other people do, and why it's important. So, with that said, Roy, why don't you just take it away, and I'll fill in the blanks if there are any.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Was a long tall relay, Donald. It's a special day someplace, I guess. If you've never done Mardi Gras in Big Easy, you've got to do it at least once and take lots of beads. And talk about a survival situation. What you're looking at is obviously the wreckage of an aircraft, and it has something in common with a lot of other pictures of aircraft wrecks that you're about to see, and that is that there were survivors. So next.
That's interesting. You look at that aircraft right there and you think, well, how in the hell could you possibly survive? I mean, that does not look like a survivable crash, does it? To me, it doesn't, anyway.
If you look closely, you can see blood.
Really?
On
Okay.
the aircraft, yeah.
What's this slide, Roy?
Well, so this is important because the people you fly with, you need to be very careful in who you select. This individual actually was a former squadron flight commander who shall remain nameless. But we'll just move on and I'll get into that here in a moment. Thanks.
I think you can get that volume a little louder by going to setup.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then go down to sound.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just hold on just a second there, Tater. I'm going to see if I can increase your sound and haptics. Where is it that you see that, Bob?
It's gonna be like, looks like the wheel, and the way it goes into your system, where you have everything listed. Go back to the front page.
Let's just press ahead with what we have. Yeah.
Okay, ready to go?
Yeah, just press ahead.
Okay, all right, so, when we fly our missions, little things mean a lot. Go ahead to the next slide.
Okay. Yeah, let's just do with what we've got.
Okay. Obviously, for us to effectively prosecute the mission, you've got to have deal with comfort issues, like obviously we need to hydrate. You've got to have both your regular glasses and your sunglasses. You need to have and take whatever meds and have them with you. You need a jacket, and I would suggest that you need some survival gear.
That's an interesting point about medication. You guys really thought about that? I mean, is anybody on a medication? I am. I'm on high blood pressure medicine. I mean, that's something that I mean, that might not be life-threatening for a couple of days, but there might be other types of medications there are.
Oh, you want me to click it for you?
Well,
Yes.
to get into that just a little bit, and part of this, we have the survival aspect, but you also have, has happened to us, where you get weathered down, in a place that you weren't intending to spend the night. So it's a good idea to have, a couple of days worth of whatever vision you might need, especially if they're critical medications like high blood pressure or anything along those lines.
Insulin would come to mind, obviously, if there's,
Sure, you bet. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. I've got a little bag that had everything I needed, and this is from back in the day, so there was always a roll of quarters for vending machines, because you always end up at an airport that's closed, but usually there's a vending machine. Also had a little airline bottle of Canadian Club. The essentials. But why do we need survival gear? Go to the next slide, please.
next.
And next. Okay, that is 9353 Echo, backup one.
Yeah, there we go. So a little delay on the video. We're learning.
Okay, so what you're looking at is 53 Echo, Cat 453. That was Squadron 5's airplane for over 20 years. And you're looking at it, you've got the Sierras in the background. Terry, are you flying the airplane?
I am flying the airplane, yeah.
Yeah. This picture's been on, been in a lot of places. And in fact, I believe if you go to Wikipedia and type in Skylane, this picture is in there. At any rate, the environment that we're flying that airplane in, obviously, can be inhospitable, to say the least. Whether it's mountain, ocean, forest, desert, and we fly over all of them. And while the opportunity to be spending a lot of time on the ground before somebody comes to get you is less, it still is there.
Mm-hmm.
Next. Okay, so we're going to go through some pictures of crashes. This was high in the mountains. You can see it's above the tree line. Where tried to make a landing, lost his engine. You can see there's no the prompts okay. It was not turning when he hit the ground, and it nosed over. He survived, but he's in tough straits because he's a long ways away from anybody. Next. Okay, this is a Husky that was in the first slide, and there were survivors on this. There is blood close to where the wing is bent back, and you can look past the airplane. You can see it obviously in the mountains. Next. Okay, this is actually, I believe, in Germany, or could be Great Britain. I think it's a G, or maybe a C, could be Canada. At any rate, obviously, looks like maybe a Piper Cruiser or something like that went into the trees, and these people survived. Next. Here's a Cirrus up in the snow. Obviously didn't deploy their chute because the airplane kind of came apart when it finally stopped. And you can tell the cockpit is intact, and there were survivors with this. Now, as we go through these, obviously look at where they're at, and think in terms of, for example, on this particular wreck right here, maybe that a helicopter can get to them really quick, distance-wise, but as we know in a lot of the mountains, the very weather that brings aircraft down prevents us and helicopters, anybody else, from going in and getting people. In the last year, we've had several instances of hikers and climbers getting stuck in in the weather for an extended period of time, and we got pretty dicey. In fact, some of them died. Next. It is a glider, also up in the mountains, and you can see he's there. He managed to extricate himself from the wreckage, and there's a rescuer there getting squared away to pull him out. Next. So we've seen this a few times. Usually, it's an airplane like a 150 or 152 hanging by a nose gear off of a power line on the approach of an airport. But this guy almost made it through the trees. Next one.
What are we even looking at there?
Okay, what you're looking at right here is if you squint your eyes just right, you're actually looking at the mortal remains of a grandmother and grandfather in a Bonanza, V-tail Bonanza. And in the back seat was a 13-year-old girl who survived, and she spent, if I remember right, a couple of nights with her dying and dead grandparents before finally were able to get to her.
Wow.
Next. And this was up in the mountains also. And there she is. She survived the rest of her grandparents and the airplane that you saw previously. Okay, next. Okay, this is cool. Everybody, I don't know if everybody knows what this is, but this is a Polish aircraft. I think it's called a Rearguard or something like that. It's in this particular case, this was in England, and they were doing a banner tow. And this the guy on the left with the suit is like a mayor of the town, and then you have the pilot there in the shorts. So they're doing a banner tow. And the point of this is what we've been talking about is these crashes are survivable. Next. Okay, what you're looking at is now the mayor upside down. You're looking at his butt and leg, and if you look past the mayor, you can see the bare leg, bloody leg of the pilot just past the feet of the mayor. And you can see mayor's upside down in the wreckage strapped in. Now, think in terms of when we come to it later on, about the survival gear in the back of the airplane. And what good is that going to do you? And think in terms of what injuries can I sustain in an off-airport landing that might affect my ability to get away from the wreckage or to do the things necessary to survive. Next. And there's the mayor, and if you look past the wheel, you can see the foot of the pilot. He's still in the wreckage. And the mayor's had himself a ribbon for surviving, I guess, but he did survive. The pilot also survived, but it took him longer to get him out of there, to extricate him from the wreckage of the airplane. Next. Okay. So the point is that you survived the wreck, you survived the crash, but you have to now survive until we get to you, or until whoever's going to come and rescue your butt gets to you. And now things get a little, that thing changed quite a bit. And a lot of stuff that you take for granted right now, sitting there listening to you, become extremely important to you in that circumstance. Next. This is actually Coast Guard going in to get the survivors of that experience that you saw earlier. So now you're looking at from up above from another helicopter as they're going to rescue. Next. So, what do you need to survive? Well, step out of the airplane, as you step from the debris and wrecking. Next. So, obviously, you like to have a lot of good stuff. I mean, if you look at the gear here, clearly, this will get you through a day or two. The thing that's missing that a lot of people do carry is, a weapon of some kind to bring down the moose for steak or whatever. But this is pretty serious set of gear. Next. But do you actually need all of that? That's a very good question. Go ahead and hit the next one. So, I don't know if there's, other than Bob Pierce, I don't know if there's any other military pilots in the room listening to this, but one thing about the things that we use, the things that we fly with, and I think, Terry, you got your vest there?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. And you fly with it on mission, as I do with mine, same type of vest. Don't fly with it ever intending to actually use it any more than I intend to use the special qualities of a pneumatic flight suit. Nor did that F-16 pilot expect to need to use that ejection seat. But I'm going to fly with a Nomex flight suit and survival gear, and that pilot's going to fly with an ejection seat. They never use it, ever. And I haven't yet, except I used the Leatherman to reattach the static line at the pump at Riverside one dark and stormy night. But beyond that, I haven't had to bar open a beer, back in the hotel room. I haven't really had to use any of it. However, very few military pilots would fly without any of those things, and I would suggest to you that when we fly most of our mission, the ES end of the mission, that we're exposed a little bit more, and having that gear could make the difference. And I will share with you a couple of quick things. We had a situation earlier in the very first thing, talking about comfort and efficacy of the mission, having a jacket. Why? I mean, clearly having a jacket at this time of year, or as it will be here in a couple of days, not necessarily today, makes a lot of sense. But would you fly with one on a day like today, doing a daylight trip? Well, we had a pilot in Washington Wing, and that now been a while ago, where he was flying from one airport to another for some training. He was solo in Squadron 182. It was a hot day. He was wearing his Air Force Blues uniform, no jacket. It was one of those kind of training presentation type of deals. He took off. He had engine problems, put it down on top of the mountain, survived, and then died of exposure. About 2 years ago, Jim Redmond was giving a check ride by Palomar Mountain, and after they got through doing the drainage, they had flaps stuck full, and so they made it over to Warner Spring and landed the airplane there. And that was right at about 4 o'clock this time of year, and by 5 o'clock it's cold and dark. And they were very thankful to have, there was nobody in Warner Spring. They were very thankful to have their jackets while I came to rescue their butts. Point being is that things like a jacket can make the difference, could save your life. And that's why when you fly our mission, you go out on any searches, that sort of thing, strongly advise you to put a jacket in the back. Next. Yeah, you can be like Ted here. You can have all the gear in the world, and that's how I fly. I fly with the vest that has all my goodies, everything that I might need. That personal thing. It's what you think works best for you. And I will tell you that over the years flying, my bag got bigger and bigger. And you had all the crap I carried, having spent some nights not in my own bed after being weathered down, or had the reasons, mechanical or something like that, suddenly put me, sitting in an airport somewhere that's dark, So my bag got bigger and bigger. I finally kind of have now found my magic place that this worked pretty well for me. Next. So let's talk about some of the basic elements of survival gear. Next. Okay, you remember the wreckage that you saw previously? And almost every one of them, the people involved in the crash could not get out of or get very far from the cockpit. And you also know that the aircraft were pretty significantly damaged. We all fly with a very nice, very complete survival kit in the back of the airplane. However, if in the crash you have to get out of the airplane because it's burning, or you can't get to the back of the airplane because it's crunched up, or because if you think about it, the injuries that you most likely would sustain would be something to your legs, feet, your back, and of course, eventually your hip. But in any case, mobility would be an issue. But even if it is, even if you're able to get out, if you've got your gear with you, then it doesn't matter if the airplane burns, right? And also, although we say stay with the gear, take the airplane, it may be that you have to go a distance and going to be able to carry it with you. So I've seen guys that take a go bag like the ground pounders do, or a little backpack vest like I do, or just a small duffel that they stuff under the seat. So there's a variety of ways to do that. But one key thing is that it's portable and near you. Next. Okay, so there's a lot of I'm going to give you the ideas of survival gear broken down into certain groups. So the first one is signaling and light group. That includes signal mirrors, signal whistle, chem lights, LED headlamp, emergency strobes, and of course a cell phone. I would strongly suggest if you don't have one, get a signal mirror. That is the cheapest and also one of the most effective tools you can have to signal. The idea being, here I am, come get me. And if, as I said earlier, in the shortest time between you waving that mirror and then picking it up, that's what you want. It's the least time on the ground as possible. These things also, has anybody ever seen a chem light on a string swung and real fast? It turns into a disc, kind of like a dip, and it's pretty visible from a distance. There's a lot of cool emergency strobes out there that are very powerful and easy to see. And then, of course, like I was talking about earlier, cell phone. Not only the ability to communicate with somebody, but also our ability to find you, right? So if let's say that the 406 doesn't work, the 403 doesn't work, but we can find you using your cell phone as well. Next.
I'm just going to interject to say, a signal mirror to me, being a search and rescue pilot for as many years as I've been one in training, this is so easy to see and so easy to use. It's basically a hole you look through and you see the airplane, and you can see this reflect the light onto the airplane. And it's very, very good tool. It's like $1. So if you can't afford any of that, get a signal mirror. Go ahead, Wood.
And another benefit is you can turn and look at yourself. That's something I like to do. between having a fire and not having a fire, not only staying warm, but just your general mental thing is remarkable. It is remarkable. Not only that, clearly, if we're looking for you at night, we're looking for a signal from the ELT, but also if we fire, then obviously we want to go there, right? So there's a lot of things. There's some great stuff out there. This Fitter Quick. There's lightning sticks. There's Sparklight. All sorts of great things, but some ability.
A magnesium block,
Yeah.
and you have a knife already, but a magnesium, look how small this is, okay? This doesn't take up any room. This is a great fire starter. By the way, you don't want to be out there and try to learn how to use this the first time. Throw that out at you. Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and I see this.
Fire and heat group next, is that where you're gonna go?
Just get me back on the screen, I can't see it.
Oh.
Okay, next. Okay, shelter and personal protection. So, you know, a nice, good, big, thick, wool arm blanket would be awesome, but clearly that's no problem with that. But, going back to that flight jacket that you had, a poncho would be awesome. The emergency blanket, then Mylar, emergency blanket, those are great. They're light, they're easy to tow. Some things that you may not think of that are really, really important in some environments, like infector culling. If you've ever been eaten alive, you know, in that type of environment, you'd be glad you had it, right? And other things. Watch cap, I mean, especially if you're like me and your big bushy head of hair is bent down a little bit, and you can lose, I think, 50% of your body heat through your noggin. So watch cap is a great thing to have. Okay, next. Okay, water and food group. So going into the survival thing, I think we've done some stories and there's some research, and we've had people who have survived more than a month without any food. I mean, maybe even longer without any food at all. However, you will not survive very long without water. You've got to have water. You can live off of your, some of us obviously live a lot longer, but you've got to have water. There's a story of an Eskimo being stuck on an ice floe and that broke off. He had no ability to feed himself, and he was able to survive. Things of that nature. So water's critical. Carry water with you, but clearly you can't carry enough to last you very long. There's some great products out there, ice straws. Obviously there's iodine tablets or water sterilizing chemicals, but I'm kind of a big one on the ice straws because it's small, it's portable, and you just need a wet spot and suck up a little bit of water with that. A 16-ounce stainless steel cup with long handles, you use that to reach to get water, but also to hold it over fire, etc. High calorie survival rations, fishing net. Now the thing of it is if you're in a situation where you get food and water, the more food you eat, the more water you get. So we can sit here and talk about all this stuff, but you kind of need to get some training and some knowledge on when and what to do and so on. There's a story, and this happened right as I came to California about 88 or 89, where a Marine, there was a exercise out of 29 Palms, and a Marine road guard got left out in the desert, and it became a big deal. You can Google it and get the story. His remains were finally found like 4 or 5 months after the event. I mean, he was left out in the desert. They went back to Camp Pendleton, and nobody knows he was gone for a couple of days. It was a tragic failure of leadership. But, and this is total Marine Corps right here, the gunny that was telling a story about this, damn Marine survived 7 days in 1 canteen water, you know, and they were able to find where he built shelters that he hunkered down during the day, and then he would move at night, trying to get to, he could see a road, a highway, and he was trying to get to the highway, but of course, he was in the desert, and you could see forever, and it was forever, he didn't, so they found his remains consisted of a big pellet bomb, and that was it. My point being that he was able to survive for a long time, and way beyond what we expected with just water. Okay, and he knew how. That was the other part of it. He had training.
Next.
Okay, miscellaneous, multi-purpose group, obviously, I mean, if you think about it, if you need something, some parachute cord, and whatever you would do with parachute cord, you need something else to do. So, it's one of those things like, you got to have that, you know, I mean, and if I only had that, one really good thing that's not really on here, but, Squadron 5 had a commander who worked for the
Something like this.
Department of Transportation, California Department of Transportation. And you know, when they are picking up garbage alongside the road in those big orange heavy-duty plastic bags, so he got us a bunch of those, and I still carry them. And if you think about it, I mean, you could do so much with a big plastic bag. You can create a water catcher. You can use signal with, you can use to transport stuff with. I mean, it's all kinds of things. Ziploc bags, obviously, everybody's probably carrying those anyway, so that if you have sickness in the airplane, or whatever. There is a really good small pamphlet. I'm looking around, I know there's one here in my office. Like, let's see where it is. Don't see it. They're green, they may be tan colored ones now, but it's a little pamphlet that has all kinds of useful information, vital information.
Where do they sell those, Roy? I mean, that's I carry it in the bottom right pocket of my flight suit in my boot, near my boot. Does the Air Force sell those, or where can you get those?
I think you can order from Vanguard. I think you can
Yeah,
get them
I think they are on Vanguard. So go under the Civil Air Patrol uniform site Vanguard, and you can get that. It's a spiral rung.
Yeah, you might.
5x8 type of a thing. I mean, you know, so
Maybe I'll give them at the base as well.
yeah.
And we used to have a whole bunch of them that we were handing out. But anyhow, obviously multi-purpose tool, but you want a good, sturdy, heavy duty. Any of these, knockoffs, don't waste your time. I can tell you from my own personal experience that the loop saws, not loop saw, what's it called? It's got 2 rings on the end, and those things will work for a period of time, and they're no good.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend some time when you take the time, do the research, spend the money, get the good stuff when you buy these. Next. Okay, and then the medical part. So, some of the training maybe some of you have had is like taking everyday stuff and turning it into things that you can use in first aid situations. Well, it's a great idea if you carry some of that with you. And there's lots of them out there. Find one that you think works for you. and get it. Now, and there's something else that's important about that. A lot of the things you're going to carry in your survival gear are perishable. So you need to, just like, your ELT battery or, other things, have a date on it. And a date, you go in, you take all the perishable crap out, whether it's meds or ointment, whatever it might be, and cycle it out and put fresh stuff in so that it's usable. Okay, next. Okay, now we're talking, go ahead, go to the next one. We're talking about that aircraft survival kit. It's not a bad kit at all, it's pretty good. However, once again, you have to be able to get at it. And also, it is a good idea, probably a very good idea, to grab it, bring it to the meeting, and unpack it and repack it. Everybody can see what's in it. Next. Okay. So there's everything you can want or need and get if you can get it out of the airplane. So if the airplane's on fire, probably not. Next. So whatever you decide, next. Whether you're going to be tactical tab or next. Or take a more casual approach to your survival equipment and gear. Next. One with a fantastic survival. Next. Let's talk about this little fella for a second. And this is where when you choose the crew you're going to fly with, always pick the ones that are most well marbled and the guys you can think you can keep alive the longest, so that they last long enough so that when you eat them, they'll get you further down the road. The folks with the knowledge and the prep, those are the ones who have the best chance to survive. And then, of course, there is that big one, and that is, it's better to be lucky than good anytime. So, if you're going to crash, do it close to somebody. Next.
Oh, you're taking donations?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Tater's Beer Fund.
Anybody have any questions for Roy before I hang up on him? Roy, great job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure.
All right.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you. Thanks, David.
So Roy, he's been around, geez, I thought I was around for a long time, but I think he's been around for 10 years longer in the Civil Air Patrol realm. He's been a CAP SAR pilot for about 40 years. And he's probably the guy that got me started wearing this thing, and I'll just show you. This is my survival vest. When you started looking at those different groups of signaling group, heating group, et cetera, I basically have one item out of every one of those groups in here. And there is water, by the way. You think water, we always bring water whenever we fly, but there's water packets like this that will last literally for years and years that you just keep in here. It's kind of,
4 ounce.
no matter how much you think you keep on top of it, like Roy's talking about how it expires, it's like, I thought I just did that and it was like 2 years ago that you did it. So if you just kind of keep stuff in here that really doesn't expire very much, you'll probably be better off. I do have something in here that is pretty useless, and it's a great point. I mean, this is something I thought when I saw it at the store, I thought, this is awesome. Okay, it's a strobe light. You can see this from miles around. Anybody know what kind of battery this takes? Neither do I, right?
It used to be a D if you screwed off the top.
Let's see if there's one in here. It doesn't even feel like there's a battery in here. It's just taking up space now. Yeah, I've taken the battery out some years ago.
It was probably corroding again.
So there's something that's probably life-sustaining that I could put in there. Something that he didn't talk about is a whistle, okay? This could be heard a lot further away than maybe you screaming, and maybe your vocal cords give way, but if you can get a breath, you can blow a whistle. For whatever reason, I have 2 of those in there, I guess in case one breaks. One's plastic, that's probably gonna break first. Thing we really didn't talk about, that you need, and I carry one every single time I fly, is a very sharp knife. You think, well, why would you need a very sharp knife when you're flying? The first thing that comes to mind for me is to cut myself out of a seatbelt if it's jammed, or to cut that cadet's seatbelt if it's jammed or something like that. So a very, very sharp knife. I'm afraid to even close that right now.
There's
And open the one.
a lot of the
Yes, at the window.
aircraft specific ones have the hook, the parachute
Uh-huh,
cutter
yeah.
version.
Yeah, and of course, this is a very sharp knife here. It's works well with that magnesium fire starter. And again, I always say that to practice it because I'm like, when I bought that, I'm like, I watch a lot of these survival shows. How hard could that possibly be, right?
Demonstration, please.
And then it's like, yeah, and it's like, wow, I've been out here for like an hour trying to light the driest stuff. I mean, it's like, it couldn't be any drier. And I can't do it. Of course, flashlight. It's probably something that's pretty handy. Okay? I'm very shocked that that works actually. I'm guilty of not keeping this up, I gotta be honest. A Leatherman, I highly recommend a Leatherman. They're a little expensive. I wonder if I have it in here. I used to carry a snake bite kit around. Here it is right here. Now this is the dumbest piece of survival equipment that I probably have in here.
In the olden days, that was the smartest one, they said.
The wax magic.
But in this first aid kit, there's probably not much there. I probably need to look at that again. I think, and welcome Emma, and I'll just ask you, put you on the spot
Yeah, go for it.
as somebody that's in medical. How important is a tourniquet to have?
I was about to say tourniquet is very, very important,
Yeah,
especially
that's probably the one thing
kinds
we
of
didn't
injuries.
discuss.
If when crashing, let's say you do happen to survive that,
Yeah,
that is a very, very handy tool, as well as something called quick clock.
yeah. I think a compass here. So you can see this vest holds quite a bit of equipment in there. It's actually very comfortable to wear.
Is it
whenever-
stylish?
It's very stylish. Now, can anybody tell me what this discolor is on this here? You see how that's kind of not ruined, but more like worn look now? That's from candles. Somebody told me candles is a great thing to put in there. When you put candles in the back of your trunk and you leave it there for months on end, they end up melting through and ruining your stuff. So I don't recommend the survival candle thing.
And by the way, the
Well,
jacket.
you can put it in plastic baggies and they.
Right.
do that.
And I thought about that, but this is that blanket that he was talking about there.
Those are good. They work real well.
A first aid kit. This will probably be the first time I've ever opened it and see what's in here. There's some Band-Aids, some, probably not a lot that's useful in a dire emergency where you're just trying to survive. By the way,
The Raspin are old enough where you take them and you'll die.
so anybody have any guesses as to how long you'll survive with moderate injuries?
8 hours.
It's a pretty good guess.
72 hours.
Well, moderate meaning
Bleeding,
you're still
or-
bleeding?
Yeah, with moderate injuries. I mean, you think about it,
Are you bleeding? Do you have open wounds?
Okay, can you-
I would say you're bleeding, yeah.
minutes.
But there's something called shock too. Always file a flight plan, okay? If you're not on SoCal, always file a flight plan because it takes us, on average, 3 days to find somebody that doesn't have a flight plan or wasn't on flight fine. Now, this is before cell phone forensics, yeah. Emma.
No, the other thing I was gonna throw in after shock is you do start to lose your ability to be aware of your environment, all of your
Mhm.
things like that, and that happens very quickly. So the sooner that you're able to start sending out signals, the better.
Just imagine the confusion of all of it, you know.
I think that the survival rate today with the equipment we have in our aircraft, ADSB,
This right here is gonna
GPS.
save your life probably.
if you push
quicker
that
than
button,
anything.
they're tracking you within 5 minutes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to do anything. The CAP cell phone forensics team triangulates your position. This is why we don't have a lot of these things going on, Frank. If they're getting all the saves out of Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, because they're able to triangulate your position by the cell phone towers that were hit where you went down. And so if this is on, I should say, you don't have to call somebody. So having a cell phone on you, I mean, who, I don't go to the mailbox without a cell phone, so I think I'm covered.
Does it work off the towers, or is it working off the set?
I think towers, I mean.
Most of the towers, so you can get in areas, and I can drive you in the mountains locally, and
Yeah.
you don't have any service.
Yeah.
It will ping off of your last
Well,
location.
so CAP forensics team actually uses two sources. They actually use your transponder source and your cell phone source, and then they overlay them to get the best estimated, position for
Recovery
you.
point.
Triangulation.
Yeah, so they do that with the transponder as well. And nowadays with the transponders, the ADSB stuff, it's within feet, so
Yeah.
you got two ways to find you.
So anyway, I would strongly consider getting a survival, something you can wear, a vest.
The fishing vest works very well.
A fishing vest that's actually a
My
very good idea.
military one went to my grandson, so
Yeah,
he gave me
yeah.
for Christmas a fishing vest to replace it.
Something that you can wear,
You can
that's
load
on
all
you.
of that up in a military surplus shop. For
Yeah,
very
yeah,
affordable.
and this isn't that expensive, it might be $25 or something like that, you can find it.
We also have a first aid kit in the back of the airplane, but you gotta be able to get to it.
Yeah, to
If you
Roy's
crash,
point.
but-
And you
So-
gotta make sure it's up to date with what's in it.
Yeah, well, we check it once a year, so.
Before we end, just wanted to recognize Arnold.
Correct.
You want to just stand up and introduce yourself?
Sure.
And tell us who you are and where you're
Okay.
coming from and why you stumbled your way into a CAP meeting today?
So my name is Arnold Beeler. I live in Redlands. I'm a registered nurse. Been doing that for going on 9 years. I used to work at a community hospital in the emergency department. And my wife started telling me that it's hardened my heart. And I got punched in the face, busted my lip, and I was like, okay, maybe I should look for something else. So I recently took a job over in Riverside as an infusion RN for patients with multiple sclerosis. And once you're in the ER, you miss it when you're out of it. So I'm gonna go back and do per diem shifts, a couple per month. So I'm married, I have two sons. My own son's 28, he's in the Marine Corps. He's currently going through jet training.
Wow, thank you for your service, thank you for your
Yeah,
service.
That's a funny story because growing up, he had no interest in aviation.
Neither did I, and somehow I'm
So,
here.
yeah.
Gotta do life.
And then my other son is at CBU in nursing school,
Awesome.
and my wife's a dental hygienist. But I'm a private pilot, single engine land.
How much time do you have?
Approaching 600 hours.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
And I fly out of Redlands. I don't have my own plane. I usually rent, and then I have a friend that lets me fly his one.
I'm gonna give you something that if you decide to come back 2 more times, I'm gonna ask you for money, and then if you stay after that, this is kind of a road map that'll give you an idea with what your pilot experience, how you can fit in with Civil Air Patrol.
Okay.
And there's some things on there that's Greek to you right now, and it'll be Greek to you while you're going through it. Why am I doing this? But it's just some hurdles that you gotta go through for CAP, but thank you for coming, and how'd you find out about us?
Actually, on SoCal Aviators.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
All right.
made some other.
All right,
about it?
okay.
You wanted to join?
You didn't see the
Or
hook
what
coming, all
about
right.
it? Did you want to-
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Look forward to seeing you a couple more times. And we have a special guest, Emma Bernstein. Emma
Hi.
is a 2-year Civil Air Patrol member. I'll let her introduce herself, but I flew with Emma yesterday and thought she might be a good fit for Squadron 5, so introduce yourself,
How you
Emma.
guys doing? Drop my mask. I'm Emma. I have been with Civil Air Patrol out here for 2 years, as you said. Working as, right now, I'm the Group 7 Health Services Officer, as well as Safety Officer, and worked as Deputy Commander and then Acting Commander for Squadron 40 for about a year. Have been doing a lot of emergency services and a lot of medical stuff during COVID, and as are you, RN, been doing my nursing stuff, and miss the ER a lot, so I understand it completely, but had a great experience flying with you yesterday and heard a lot about you guys, so I thought I'd come and check it out since this will be closer to my home base now.
Good, well, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having
welcome.
me.
Yeah.
So, are we done with the online portion?
I could kill it.
Okay, yeah, we're done with that. Does anybody have any questions about the survival vest, the kit, or anything like that? You might be able to go on